Russia, the world's largest country. For most of this century, it has remained a mystery. Its rich history and traditions, its treasures and beauty have never been fully realized by the rest of the world. Russia and its people have been an enigma. But since the demise of the Soviet Union and all it stood for, things have been slowly changing as the Iron Curtain of secrecy has slowly been lifting to reveal the secret treasures of the Kremlin. The world is discovering that inside Russia is a secret world of arts and treasures never before imagined. And one of the most stunning is the amazing Faberge Egg collection. The Faberge eggs are arguably the world's most exquisite objet d'art, worth singularly millions of dollars. They were gifts from the 19th century's rich and famous to their loved ones. Today, they are priceless and are seen by relatively few people. They're but part of an amazing collection of Faberge, which is housed at the Kremlin Museum, a stone's throw from Boris Yeltsin's office. And it's these treasures that a Perth man wants to bring to Australia. But it's no easy task persuading the Kremlin Museum to allow the very best of the Faberge masterpieces to leave Russia, something which has never been allowed to happen before. And there are days of hard negotiations ahead for the man behind the planned exhibition.
The most important thing when dealing with the Kremlin is to give them due courtesy, is to understand that it's a big thing for them to let out their art treasures. This is their national heritage. Then I think that we'll definitely sign a contract while we're in Moscow.
One of the reasons for the Faberge collection tour is 1996 is the 150th anniversary of the birth of Carl Faberge. But of course these treasures were fashioned a long time before the Moscow of Perestroika or even the Moscow of the Cold War. It was a time when the wheels of history were spinning fast, a time when Tsar Nicholas II ruled Russia. A time when the Romanov dynasty, which had lasted for more than 300 years, was about to come to a bloody end. Strangely enough, the Moscow of today seems to be more in tune with the Moscow of the Tsar's time than it has for many decades. Perhaps it's the way Muscovites are attempting to reclaim their heritage. Standing here with the temperature of around -17 degrees and snowing, it's pretty hard to imagine that on that site behind me, only 2 years ago, was an outdoor swimming pool. It was the largest in the world. It housed around 20,000 people when it was at its full capacity. Now, in 1935, Stalin demolished an existing cathedral that was 100 years old, the Church of the Saviour. So now they've demolished the swimming pool and they're rebuilding the cathedral, which is fantastic. For many years, the West has only seen limited pictures of Moscow and the Russian people. The Ruskies, as they became known in countless Hollywood movies, really were the unseen enemy. The rare glimpses of their lives came during the bravado of the May Day parades, or in news stories about food queues. It's well known that since the breakup of the Soviet Union, the former Soviets have been toughing it out. But our guide and interpreter, Svetlana Savushkina, says today there seems to be a real light at the end of the tunnel. She told me that Red Square, which once echoed to the stomping of marching boots in those May Day parades, now enjoys the more friendly sound the clicking of tourist cameras. You know, it's amazing seeing Red Square with nobody much in it, because the image that most people have in the West is of the May Day parades with all the tanks going through and the leaders reviewing the troops. Where did they used to stand when they were reviewing them?
You know, they were standing over there at the top of this mausoleum. Special place for them, and they usually were standing there.
There's an underground tunnel that leads from the mausoleum to the Kremlin, isn't there?
Yes, yes. It's connected the Kremlin with mausoleum special passage, which pass from this tower, the Senate Tower, and then through this passage they usually go to this rostrum.
Almost half a kilometre long, Red Square, or Krasnaya Ploshet, like the rest of Moscow, has an amazing history. You know, when the Tsars were in power before the revolution, what did they use this square for?
You know, this square from the ancient time, from the 15th century, it was the main trade place. But at the end of the 15th century, this area, it is very famous in Moscow, because the best craftsmen from the producing different goods, they lived here, and then they came here on this square to sell it, because there are a lot of wooden stalls here. And that's why this square changed its name many times. These wooden stalls, they catch fire very often, and the name of this square was Fire.
It was also a place where the rulers of Russia got tough. In 1698, Peter the Great had his 2,000-strong palace guard, the Streltsy, executed here, every single one of them for mutiny. Its name doesn't come from the blood which has been spilt there. The old Slavonic word, krasny, also means beautiful. Red Square is entirely surrounded by history. On one side, the huge red walls conceal the mysterious Kremlin. At the foot of the wall, Lenin's tomb, though the goose-stepping guards, which used to change every hour, have been replaced with a cold-looking militiaman. At the northern end of Red Square sits a majestic red building, the State History Museum. On the east side, this magnificent 19th century building. It's not a palace, but possibly the best-looking department store you ever saw. GUM, a synonym for Gosudarstvenny Universalny Magazin, the state department store, a magnificent century-old building which was a splendid example of the misery of shopping in the former Soviet Union, but today is alive with privately run shops and stalls full of all kinds of delights. So this is the main shopping area in Moscow?
Yes, right.
And has it changed at all in the last few years?
Yes, we have a lot of change, because a lot of different companies from different countries, they began to work here, and they have their own shops here. And that's why now we have a lot of different goods, very high quality, and we could buy everything.
Is it expensive?
Yes, I think it's rather expensive. I think so.
Is it more expensive than other parts of the city?
Yes, because the central shops, they are more expensive than in other shops.
So who shops here? Is it tourists or is it the local Russians?
There are many quite different people, because most of people, and visitors and foreigners and Russians, they usually go to the shop. And before holiday, now Christmas, Russians, they buy different souvenirs to their relatives and different presents. And there are many foreign visitors here as well.
Although GUM is 100 years old and before the revolution housed some of Europe's best and most elegant stores, since the fall of communism, it's becoming international again. Well, it's Christmas coming up with the Christmas tree and Father Christmas. Do you call him Father Christmas here?
We called this Snow Maid and Father Frost.
Father Frost?
Father Frost.
But of course, Christmas here is celebrated at a different time, isn't it? The Orthodox Christmas is in January.
Yes.
Back outside on Red Square, the winter's day was deepening as a silent show of snow was gently falling. This is probably the most famous symbol of Russia, St. Basil's Cathedral. It was built by Ivan the Terrible about 400 years ago. And when Napoleon and his troops fled Moscow in 1812, they tried to blow it up. They did a fair amount of damage to the interior, but fortunately the exterior survives today. I've seen many pictures of St. Basil's Cathedral, but no picture can prepare you for the real thing. It's like a fairy tale castle made out of mushrooms blossoming at the south end of Red Square. The 19th century traveller, the Marquis de Custine, called it a box of crystallized fruits. In reality, it's an inside-out church. Whereas most churches have their altars on the inside, St. Basil's is an altar. It was commissioned by Ivan the Terrible in thanks to God for his victory over the Volga Tatar stronghold of Kazan. It took 6 years to build, or rather create, and was completed in 1561. Ivan the Terrible lived up to his name. So impressed with the design of St. Basil's, he had the architects blinded, so they couldn't design anything better. St. Basil's is named after a barefoot holy fool called Vasily, who predicted Ivan's damnation, and that Ivan would murder his own son, which he did. But that's another story. If you think it looks fantastic by daytime, just wait till you see it by night. It was a cold, grey morning as we left the hotel heading for the Kremlin. It was the day of our official welcome and the day that Stuart Bromley hoped to at last sign the deal which he'd been working on for the past 2 years to bring the Kremlin treasures south to Australia. The temperature was hovering around the -12 mark, but fortunately it hadn't been snowing, so the roads to the Kremlin were comparatively clear, compared to a couple of days ago. This was the scene outside Moscow's largest market, Izmailovsky Park. The visit to the wonderful market was a spontaneous suggestion from our guide Svetlana. Therefore, the market management wasn't expecting us, which meant we had no permission to film, so the Cossack guards wouldn't allow us in.
No, he said we should speak with the chief. Yes. I asked, please.
Unlike other places in Moscow, more important than this humble market, remarkably, the mighty American dollar could not help us here.
He wants some money, does he want some money?
No.
The word was the Cossacks are incorruptible. Perhaps it's true. Eventually, official permission was granted, and the chief Cossack, who was from the same stock as those who protected the Tsar for 3 centuries, became our friend and my personal bodyguard, not leaving my side once. Alexander, this is the most exciting market. Is it the biggest market in Moscow?
Самый большой маркет в Москве.
Да.
This market, is it all day, for 2 days, or for the whole week? How often?
Only during holidays and on Saturday and Sunday.
The people who sell their wares here, do they make them themselves? Are they locally made, or do they come from all parts of the country?
Most of these things, they were made by themselves, and it is handmade.
Alexander says that these markets were very popular during the Tsar's time, but under communism they all but disappeared. This market has been here for about 5 years.
что он сказал.
Не, ну он сказал.
Сколько продает?
Я продаю вообще при 80-12.
Does the market operate whether it's any weather, snowing, sunshine, it's always open?
В любую погоду.
Да, и в дождь, и в снег, и в солнце, и в мороз.
Yes.
How much? This one minimum $2, maximum $60.
The market at Ismailovsky was just wonderful. The people, the shopping, the atmosphere, the music, and even the food from the vendors outside the market. But the music and the food would not compare to what lay ahead of us at the Kremlin. The fact we were expected and that we were official guests carried little weight with the police. Old habits die hard, and everywhere we went, they wanted to stop us filming. As we walked up the pathway towards the metal detector at the gates of the Kremlin, we knew we would have a long wait, and we would be told to stop filming. Inside the walls of the Kremlin, my first impression of the 850-year-old citadel was one of awe. I was walking where so many people of note had trod before, where Napoleon had watched Moscow burn, where both Ivan the Terrible and Stalin planned their reigns of terror. I was walking the same path as Tsar Nicholas II and his ill-fated family, as Rasputin, Khrushchev, Gorbachev and Yeltsin. By the same token, I felt immensely privileged because so many other people, because of the Cold War, have never had the opportunity to see such splendor. This was the seat of one of the greatest powers in the world, though it seems to have waned somewhat in recent years. More importantly, it's the center of a culture which has lasted for centuries. The West's leading power, the United States of America, offers the world Hollywood, the Ford Motor Company, Coca-Cola and McDonald's. Russia, on the other hand, has a history so rich and turbulent that Hollywood could never tell all the stories. So rich in tradition, the new world's relative youth cannot compare. So rich in culture, it has the potential to make contemporary artists tremble. The snow had begun dancing again on the Kremlin when we were told the director of the museum had at last agreed to the Australian deal and was about to sign the contracts. This now meant that more than 200 priceless treasures of the Tsar's Faberge Egg collection were heading to Perth. But how difficult is it dealing with the Kremlin, which held the West to ransom for nearly 50 years? How difficult is it dealing with the power which was formerly perceived as the evil empire?
Well, the Russians are wonderful people to deal with. I mean, I absolutely love dealing with them because there's always this strong cultural push that comes from them, and this is what this exhibition's all about. You know, we're 2 years off 850 years celebration of Moscow, and that's a long time to be collecting these wonderful collections.
And with the champagne came the promise of more delights. 849 years, Moscow has stood against the hordes. For centuries ruled over by the Tsars, and of course the Russian Orthodox Church has had a great influence over not only the people's hearts and minds, but the city's architecture. Wherever you look throughout the city, there are churches. With the October Revolution, the growth of communism and the eventual rule of Stalin, the skyline of Moscow changed dramatically. Down came many of the city's cathedrals. Up in their place, Stalin built Moscow's first skyscrapers. Today, they are called the Seven Sisters, and they are just the most magnificent neo-Gothic buildings. Stalin didn't confine himself to reaching for the stars. He also went underground. Of course, the other good thing about being underground is you're out of the cold.
Now, the metro stations are fantastic. They're in all different styles, from Art Nouveau to celebrations of military battles. They really are an incredible sight. And they're incredibly efficient too. One every 1.5 minutes, and they carry about 8 million people a day.
На простор речной волны выплывают расписные острокрутые челны. На переднем Стенька Разин, обнявшись, сидит княжной, свадьбу новую справляет, он веселый и хмельной.
This is really magical. Here I am in one of the oldest parts of Moscow. All the buildings around are 18th and 19th century. It's virtually untouched. Only 15 minutes ago, the streets were all grey. It's only 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but we had a snowstorm, and now everything's white again. It's really incredible. We've had thunder, lightning. This is the image that we all have of Russia. It looks like a Christmas card.
Despite the bitter cold, it was such a great evening, we decided to mingle with the Muscovites. And look at this, an Australian bread shop. An incredibly popular place, especially the meat pies. And just like some Aussie pies back home, quite disgusting.
Oh, great, she's in a big pie.
One of the most endearing things about the Russian people is their zest for life, their passion for their country and their culture and their music.
It's really cold this morning. It's made worse by the wind, which probably comes from Siberia, and it's making my eyes water. The snow's just starting to come, and I'm probably standing on the wrong side of the river because over there is one of Moscow's heating stations. Down below us, the Moskva River is almost completely frozen over. But you know what some men are like? They won't give up their fishing for anything.
Солнечной поляночке дугою бедным ром парнишка на тальяночке играет про любовь.
The Kremlin. For decades, the name has instilled mystery and wonder in the people of the West. Because of its role in world politics, because of its role in books and films like the James Bond series. But in reality, we're lucky to have this magnificent collection of buildings. Several times throughout our history, fate almost destroyed the Kremlin. Napoleon, in his defeat, tried to blow it up in 1812. It was this, of course, which inspired Tchaikovsky to write the 1812 overture. Before that, in the 1770s, Catherine the Great had plans to demolish the place and replace its cathedrals with a new classic-style Kremlin. Fortunately, she went broke. And of course, the Kremlin has also had its minor problems too.
Irina, this would have to be the biggest bell in the world.
You're right, but never rang.
It never rang. Well, obviously, it's got a big hole in it.
Yeah.
What happened to it?
It was a big fire, and people began to use the water and fire make a crack, huge crack, and this piece is 11 tons.
If that's 11 tons, how much does the whole bell weigh?
200 tons together.
And when was it made?
It was in the 16th century.
By 1917, there were 31 temples with 51 altars, a monastery and a nunnery, all within the Kremlin walls. After the Russian Revolution, the Bolsheviks closed 13 temples and 22 altars, destroying another 17 churches, 25 altars, the nunnery and monastery, including the oldest building in Moscow.
Is this where they came down the stairs for the coronation?
Yes, this is very important red porch, which was restored recently, this January exactly. And the Tsar left the palace, and they took the stairs, and they go around, and they use this enter to the main cathedral. Assumption Cathedral was built in 1479. And for that time, it was a miracle for the Russian people because all buildings were very small, and it was huge and very, for the very
Ivan the Great's bell tower is the tallest building in the Kremlin. No foreign film crew has ever been allowed up its 329 steps before.
This is a great privilege. We are the first foreign film crew ever to be allowed up on top of the Tsar's bell tower. This building is nearly 400 years old. For over 300 years, it was the tallest building in Moscow. It was a sentry post because this was a fortress. And I'm surrounded by some of the most incredible buildings in history. All these beautiful gold cupolas are just glinting in the sun. One of the oldest and certainly one of the most important monasteries in the whole of Russia is here at Sergiev Posad, about 75 kilometers from Moscow. It was founded about 600 years ago by a rather charismatic hermit called Sergiev Posad. Now, none of the original buildings unfortunately survive, but the Trinity Church dates back to the 15th century. And one of the important things about this whole area is that each century a building of some significance was added.
The Trinity Cathedral is the heart of the monastery, and in its way, the heart of Russian Orthodoxy. One of the reasons is that Sergiev Posad was later canonized, becoming the patron saint of Russia. Sergiev Posad is a magnificent example of how Russia's state and religious history is locked together. And though Sergiev Posad may hold the soul of Russia, its heart will always be at the Kremlin. For most of this century, the treasures of the Kremlin, like the rest of Russia, have been kept a secret, locked away from the West behind the mysterious Iron Curtain. Inside the Kremlin is the Armory Museum, Russia's oldest museum. It contains one of the world's most significant collections of rare decorative art. Priceless crowns, scepters and treasures of a bygone age, which far outweigh the value of the British crown jewels.
It's a collection of Kremlin workshops, and you can follow the customs and changing of styles, habits from the earliest time, 12th century till the 20s, and that's why it's one of the biggest collections in the world.
At the time of the Bolshevik Revolution, Tsar Nicholas II was the richest man in the world, worth then billions of dollars. Here's an irony. Despite the fact these items are priceless, because of a lack of money, much of the Kremlin's treasures are still locked away in vaults.
For example, one carriage, it took about 2 years of complicated work. And the crew is about 10 persons, painters, wood masters, wood cut masters, and iron masters, metal conservation, metal restorers.
The ironies continue. The Kremlin is embracing capitalism as it looks toward the future. The museum sees the potential in allowing its treasures to travel overseas, as they will return big dollars, which will help them restore and maintain many of these priceless treasures. Irina Polonina is in charge of the World of Faberge Egg collection.
Each exhibition, it's a lot of work to do, because we must make a good choice. And it's very complicated to make a list at first, to decide what we can send, what is forbidden to send because of the fragile or something else.
The treasures which are going on tour include the fantastic Kremlin Egg, which chimed for the first time in years whilst we were filming it.
Irina, one of the most famous pieces that's going to Australia in the exhibition is the Trans-Siberian Egg.
Inside of this egg, they put the train, which was copy of the real train, and the train itself made with platinum, and the light is a ruby, And the carriages made with gold, and each carriage has special inscription for ladies, for smoking, non-smoking, the male, and this last for the church.
There were originally 57 of the famous Faberge eggs. Unfortunately, the Russians only own 10. The remainder are overseas or lost. But they are hopeful that the lost ones may someday turn up, like this St. Petersburg dandelion flower study, which was found in 1994 in a collector's attic.
Dandelion itself, very interesting because it's small chips of diamonds. It's the seeds, real seeds of dandelion.
The treasures we've shown you both inside the Kremlin and out are but a small sample of the wonders that are Russia. Its history, its scenery, its culture, its music, and of course its people have left me hungry for more. I, for one, will be returning.